We have some very interesting questions here covering many different topics of autism spectrum disorder. The first is, what is the relation between ASD and specific learning disabilities such as dyslexia? What do they have in common? Unfortunately, one of the characteristics of autism spectrum disorders, such as Asperger's syndrome, is a risk for specific learning disabilities. Dyslexia, that is a difficulty with reading, is a common one. Now, this can be due to a range of sensory, perceptual, linguistic, and cognitive problems. And for the dyslexia, my concern as a psychologist is that the person with Asperger's syndrome may have intellect, but if they're not good at reading, then they can feel a failure at school. So especially at high school, they realize that other children who are not as smart as they are more successful, and they have very low self-esteem. So from my point of view, someone with Asperger's syndrome who at 5 or 6 years old may have signs of reading difficulties should be thoroughly assessed. Some of the difficulties can be a strange Asperger characteristic of a very narrow focus of attention. And that is, a man with Asperger's explained to me that as he looks at text, he sees in focus to the width of 3 letters. That is, as I read, I have a word, and in my visual field, it is wide to the central letter, or central word, and 1 word either side. For him, it's like having a piece of paper with a hole in it the width of 3 letters, and trying to read with a width of 3 letters in his visual field. For some, there can be a movement of the letters that they do not keep still, or there is a bright reflection on the white paper. Erlen lenses can help in this area. But I do recommend that the child is assessed by a reading specialist. Other areas of specific learning disabilities can include not reading, but number skills. And those with ASD can either be superb at numbers, fascinated by numbers and really enjoy them, or they have no idea about numbers and it's a specific learning difficulty. There can also be problems with handwriting skills, dysgraphia. So what we look for is an assessment in the primary school years to find out if there are any specific learning disabilities, and the majority of those with an autism spectrum disorder also have specific learning disabilities. We're not sure precisely how many people with ASD have specific learning disabilities. I think it is probably the majority, and what I would want is for that to be recognized, that it is not laziness, it is not intellectual impairment, but a specific learning disability with someone who has a very uneven profile of cognitive abilities. And we need to recognize that and adjust the curriculum for such individuals.